Hey, what's going on, guys? Here at Galaxy Games with Richard Ruckman. He's a relatively new guy to our card shop, and he's playing a very interesting, spicy Dark Magician deck. So feel free to take it away, man.
Alright, well, it's a little bit different than a standard Dark Magician that we like to play, but one thing I don't deviate from is 3 of these.
All different arts, of course.
Yeah, because you gotta go a little bit more bling, especially that little overkill on the bling, but it looks cool. Now, pretty standard right now is 3 of this. Now, I've seen some builds playing 2. I like seeing 3 for actually another monster we'll see in a moment, because it can come up. Plus, the honest effect can come up a lot too.
Yeah.
3 rod, need your searches, and this thing helps a lot, especially considering the fact that, I mean, if you, a lot of decks are playing Desires, a lot of that, so you want to get to at least 1 copy of whatever Eternal Soul, whatever you need to, that way you're guaranteed at least one of them in your hands.
Yeah.
Now we play 2, Magician Dark Illusion. It's bricky as hell at 3, but at 2, you're usually more guaranteed to like special summon it out and go for rank 7s.
And then at 1, you just like never.
You never see it,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's not, I mean, it's not searchable with anything, so in the deck. So there's no really Dark Magician things with that. Now for spell books, we actually play 2 Magician of Prophecy. You could bump it to 3. I just feel more comfortable with 2 since you already have a normal summon with Rod.
Yeah, you don't want to clog with both Blue Boy and
yeah.
Rod.
And plus, a lot of the times, what you can do if you have like 2 Blue Boys and you summon 1, pitch another off of Knowledge, and just keep going on with your day.
Yep.
Now, the thing I'm playing is 2 Destrudo. Now, Destrudo, I don't have any way to pitch it directly from deck. I mean, you can run Foolish Barrow, but a lot of times what happens is if you draw Destrudo and you have a Prince Illusion Magician, you can actually pitch Destrudo. And then you can just summon Destrudo from the graveyard using its effect, and then go into like a whatever level 7 you're wanting to go to. I go into usually Clear Wing, and then also if you haven't used your normal summon and you have Blue Boy, you can actually go into Trishula pretty easily. And that way, I mean, and especially in Dark Magician, a lot of people aren't expecting that, and sniping that 1 card, especially going turn 1, sniping a card out of their hand is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, play 3 Circle. Probably one of the better cards in the deck, considering the fact you can get removal, adding Dark Magician's cards or Dark Magician from deck to your hand. Also stacking yourself a little bit, and what also is really good, especially before you go to Desires, when you see your 3 cards, you kind of like, do I want to activate it this turn, or you can actually kind of gauge your plays a little bit.
Yeah, you can kind of like plan out what your next turn or 2 is going to be based off of what you
especially
draw.
too depending on what your opponent's board is. Now, what I also play is 3 of this, Dark Magic Veil. Now, as you'll see in the extra deck soon, this is more of a turbo build for the new Dark Magician, well, not new, but it's been out for a little bit, Dark Magician Fusion, Dark Magician Dragon Knight here.
Yeah.
Now this, why it's so good here, if you open this Dark Magician in either Eye of Timaeus or another spell that we're going to be showing in a second, you pretty much want to get this out as soon as possible. Reason why I like it is because when you have this with Eternal Soul, which we'll just get out right now.
It just basically alleviates the downsides of Eternal Soul.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, on top of that, it's protecting all your Dark Magicians, because now since it protects, no one knows what this does, it protects your back row from being targeted or destroyed. So essentially, you're gaining almost a towers for pretty much almost free, which can come in handy.
Yeah, I can definitely see it unbricking some of your cloggy hands too.
It really can, especially if you have like if you've Apprentice Illusion Magician in graveyard, and you need a Dark Magician to make another card live. You can easily, and it's not Apprentice Illusion Magician. A lot of people think it's just on special summon of its effect. It's actually on normal special summon regardless. So you can just keep searching Dark Magician with that. Now play triple Scapegoat. I don't really think it needs any explanation. Pretty much anyone in this format pretty much knows Scapegoats equal instant links.
Yeah, if your deck's missing that little bit of something to give it extra oomph,
Yeah,
Scapegoat's your card.
Now to go with the spell books, we're playing 2 Secrets and 2 Knowledge. I like 2 because if you draw too many into Knowledges, it ends up bricking, especially because once per turn you can't pitch Knowledge for Knowledge. But since you're all, I mean, it's a Dark Magician deck, so you're playing all spellcasters other than the Destrudo, so you can pretty much just end up just a little extra draw power the deck needs, since it searches but not too much.
Right.
To go off of that, you play 2 Desires, and even with playing 2 of things, the fact that if you get into your spellbook engine first, this actually becomes a lot better, because if you banish 10, a lot of the times you're not really worried about it, considering Desires just helps you. A lot of times, like, you might need one Eternal Soul or whatever in your hand, and it just ends up unbricking you, and you end up getting a better start to your board.
Yeah, especially if you're able to thin out your combo cards first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that's another 2 of, we're playing 2 of Itemias. 3 of this can be just very, just, it's bricky. Considering the fact that you only use the fusion summon by triggering the Dark Magician on field, it can, at times it can end up, if you play 3, and I've played 3, I've tested 3, but a lot of times you might open up 2 and you're just, it ends up your hands getting a little too cloggy. But yeah, this is, now we do run another fusion card, which is Odd Eyes Fusion. Now, going second, if your opponent makes a board, if no one knows, you can actually use up to 2 Odd Eyes monsters as material. So if you have a Dark Magician in your hand, you can actually use one of your Odd Eyes extra deck monsters and then just end up making Dark Magician the Dragon Knight that way. And plus, since it's already like a normal poly, you can actually go into other things as well, which you'll see in the extra deck in a moment. But now we also play 1 Dark Magic Inheritance. Extremely good with your spellbook engine, because as soon as you resolve your spellbook engine, if you have this in your hand, you can just banish 2 of your spellbooks and search as Dark Magician and Spell Trap for free, which is great. And plus, you're playing so many spells already.
Yeah.
This thing, it's almost guaranteed to resolve. As one of Monster Reborn.
Yeah.
It's just Monster Reborn. It's easy to use for pretty much everything anymore. Also, we play 3 Eternal Soul. One of the other better that makes this deck extremely well. Now, we don't want to run Dark Magic Attack or any of that. Reason why, I don't really feel like board wipes for spell back row is great. You could side it, but I feel like maining it sometimes can come, because especially since you have to search it and you have to have a Dark Magician on field to resolve it. It can end up clogged. And plus, the good thing is though, you can just keep bringing back Dark Magician, special summon on your opponent's turn, which goes well with a lot
there's
of
also
other
just not a lot of decks that are like really setting more than 1 or 2 back row
exactly.
right now.
So it's not really like, I mean, if you're going against Paleo, but they can just either chain the things or whatever. In the last 2 traps, I played 2 Navigation. I've tried 3, but with all the searches with Rod and Inheritance and just all the draw power, I found that I was bricking with 3 a lot more. Especially considering if you resolve Apprentice Illusion Magician, you usually will end up having a Dark Magician in hand anyway to keep this live. Now, for the extra deck,
just a couple quick questions with the main. The no hand traps, is that like by choice or just by not having hand traps?
It's by choice, because the hand, now, if you were going to incorporate hand traps, you could probably cut Destrudo and possibly Monster Reborn to fit in a few hand traps, or Called by the Grave, whatever can negate something that you like that. But I felt like just how I was trying to make the deck, Dark Magician, you really can't. It's hard to add tech cards to it directly. I mean, you can probably cut Desires on the one, try to like fine tune it to you could try to fit it in. I've been still testing this out for a while, so I mean, this build's been working pretty well for me.
Second question is like, why not like I think I asked you this before the video, like why not like more back row in the main, especially since a big focus is on some of these.
Now in the side deck, I actually run a little bit more back row,
like
strikes and stuff, because it's against certain matchups. Like if you're going against Danos or whatever, you can decide Drownings or whatever like that, or have them, and it's great. But against certain matchups, back row, I feel like, especially like in Mekk-Knight Invoke and stuff, they can. If they're going to negate it or whatever, you can maybe bait it out. But I feel like a lot of times too, because I'm usually turboing this out, since you're already protecting your Eternal Soul and going in for game with a lot of this card here, which we can go into extra here with the Dragon Knights. It's more of like a turbo build to get this out more than anything. I feel like a lot of like back row heavy. I mean, you could, but with this, I felt like it was more just a focus on this. Plus, if you could always too, if you have Apprentice Illusion Magician, you can always pitch Navigation, and then on your next turn, you can have a negate for a spell or trap with that by banishing this. So you can kind of mitigate the fact you're not running hand traps. I mean, obviously, if you can figure out a way to fit them in, you can.
Right.
I just didn't feel a need to for this particular deck.
Yeah, the only other question is like, have you tested out Allure Darkness in here with all the dark?
Yes, I actually did. Before running Scapegoat, I actually ran 2 Allure. It worked, but I felt that having Scapegoat and the ability to go into links and stuff a lot more
You just
helped.
gain more advantage. off the
Yes,
card.
because Allure of Darkness, you could draw into, like a lot of times you might draw into desires, and then you draw into your spellbook engine, but then you banish the rest of your spellbook engine. So you're getting all these draws, but sometimes you might not net it the way you would like to.
So
Now, do play a one-off Dark Paladin. Doesn't come up often, but especially if you have more like a spell-heavy hand, since we're running mostly a lot of more spells. Against certain decks that just runs more spells, especially in this format, we're running more spells. I mean, there's some more back row with traps, but this being able to negate a spell card can come in handy. A lot of times too, what you can do, you go Eye of Timaeus, and then you can actually, since this counts as Dark Magician on the field or in the graveyard, you can actually use, if you draw a second Eye of Timaeus, you can actually use this, fusion summon into this, activate Eternal Soul, and bring this back to the main monster zone.
Nifty little thing about this. This looks like it is original limited edition promo from Duel Masters
Yeah,
Guide.
I've actually had this for good on many years.
Yeah, I used to have one myself for many years that got damaged and stolen.
Because I used to duel when I was a kid for a long time. Then around GX era, kind of cut out, and then
Right.
a couple years ago, got back into it pretty heavily. Now for this, we actually run 2 Odd Eyes Venom Dragon. Now this is the fusion material for the Odd Eyes fusion. Just a pitch off of there. You could run more. You could run less than. You can just run one of these if you would like to. I just felt like occasionally you might want to use these just a pitch to have more engrave for dragons and stuff.
And you do have a little bit of flexibility in the extra deck as well.
Yeah, but you can always pitch this for because I actually don't run Ebon Illusion Magician. Unfortunately, I don't have one. If I did, I probably would cut this down for that. But it can come in handy. Plus, with Odd Eyes Fusion, you can also use to summon this out because you're running mostly darks. If you draw Odd Eyes Fusion, you have any 2 darks, you can actually make Starving Beneficiary Dragon. Not the best card, but it can come in handy with its effect, which pretty much it's not as good as like how the Pendulum Magicians have the Supreme King version.
Yeah.
But this effect can be relevant. Plus, if you can make it, you might as well, because I just feel like it's just a neat tech to put in.
Yeah.
Now for Destrudo, we actually run 2 synchros. We're actually running Clearwing. You can go into Clearwing pretty easily just with just any of your monsters. I mean, like I said earlier, Apprentice Illusion Magician and Destrudo pretty much can just make this. And the negation effect's pretty good. There's a lot more level 5 or higher monsters going on. So you can stop pretty much plays. But a lot of times it doesn't come up too often.
But if you have that extra blue boy.
If you have the blue boy on field, if you have a normal summon, you can always normal summon, have a Apprentice Illusion Magician, and have Destrudo, and then go into Trishula, which is really great. Plus, a lot of times too, if you end up having Odd Eyes Fusion or anything, you can actually use this as fusion material to make Dragon Knight if you would like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an option; doesn't always come up, but anytime I think a deck can make Trishula, you probably should. Now, this doesn't come up too often, but it's
2 rods.
But just 2 rods, and you can easily make this. I mean, Break Sword's pretty self-explanatory. Just choose a card, pop, and it's good removal, and it's just good for anything you can make rank 3s. Now, I do run 1 Big Eye, since I'll rank 7s, and plus being able to take one of your opponent's monsters, especially a link monster, and then you can just link off if you want to. But a lot of times we don't run too many heavy links in this. I mean, you could, but a lot of times hell, if you can get a Bore Load from your opponent, well, not Bore Load because of targets, but like Firewall or whatever they have on board, you can easily just go for game with that. And we do run 1 Red Ice Flare Metal, but not being able to be just affected by destroyed by card effects when it has material is really relevant. Plus the burn damage. A lot of people doing searching, trying to activate different card effects. You can almost stunt your opponent, just stall them with this anyway. And plus being able to get any Dark Magician back with you're running the 3 Veil, Monster Reborn, Eternal Soul. There's a lot of more recurability. Now for Scapegoats, we are running 2. We're running Link Spider and Link Karibo.
Yep.
And then Mrs. Radiant and a Bore Load. Basically, I mean, everyone knows Bore Load Dragon's one of the best, if not one of the best links out right now. And just being able to shove it into any deck gives that deck a little extra oomph. Because a lot of times Dark Magician lacks offensive power. It's more of a defense deck going in a circle banishing cards. But with this on board, you can usually do a lot more damage. And then whatever other extra deck monster you want to summon, you can go into a lot more rank 6, like rank 7s and stuff. with it because of the arrows, and it's just a good overall good card.
Yeah. Would you consider adding in more links like the Ibn and Girsu combo if you had the room?
If I had the room, I would. I've been thinking of taking out that other Odd Eyes Venom Dragon and just trying to fit in a few other things. But all in all, I think the extra deck's sound. Because like Odd Eyes Venom, you never will actually summon it, just a material for that, so you can always cut one of these out for another link of some sort.
Yeah.
Ningirsu is always a good option. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck. But overall, I mean, it does really well. But the thing is, you gotta keep in mind you are playing Dark Magician,
Yeah.
so you can't expect to go up against Pendulum Magician and just completely blow them out. You kind of have to think more defensively, and you could going first is usually what you want to do, but a lot of what I gear towards with scapegoats and other stuff, you can kind of recover a little bit, and plus with Destrudo you can kind of make that little extra play to go second. But either way, this is usually just if you can go first, it's just more strong towards that. However, how I try to build it, it can work to go first or second. But it's still stronger going first. Now for side, I mean, a side deck's always up to the meta, but a side 3 Artifact Lancia, simply because it's just so many decks are banishing. Gemini FTK, Invoke Mech Knight, you can kind of shut a lot of things down with it. Plus, it's a hand trap. ABCs especially too. ABCs really can't do anything at that point. It just comes in handy. You could run Chaos Hunter, but I just think this is an overall better card for this. Now we run 2 Denko Sekka. Especially, this is good, especially going into heavy back row decks. This is what kind of chose to have over more heavier back row, because even though you can't really activate your back row under that, but a lot of times you can, if you're going against Paleo or anything like that, that essentially shuts them down.
Yeah.
So it has worked out. Now we do run a Kaiju engine of 4 Kaijus and Slumber. Just good against True Draco or anything that you just have a problem getting over. Plus, Slumber is just it's a board wipe. It's good. Just helps you recover, or helps you just push if you need to. Now, for the rest of it, play 2 Cosmic Cyclone. You could play 3. I think deciding 2 has come in handy, because it depends on what you're going against. True Draco is a big thing just to banish their spells or traps, but depends what you're going against. But for our last thing, we play 3 Strike. I would usually, against the Pendulum matchup or anything that special summons a lot, it's a no-brainer to go for Strike. Because you could probably run Solemn Judgment, but the only reason I don't run actually a Judgment, because I was thinking of adding a Judgment instead of the 3 Strikes. I was actually thinking of putting Judgment, but running Destrudo with already paying half your life already, you kind of risk yourself to just game yourself with all the life point loss.
Yeah.
But overall, that's just it. Side deck, I would say, just for what we have at the locals here, I'd say it's pretty sound. But overall, that was my Dark Magician deck profile.
All right. So thank you for the deck profile, Richard. Remember, guys, to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time.